Hello, guys. Welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Today, we've got a special guest on. We've got Dan Naylor from Naylor Boxing. He's an ex-pro and a current licensed manager. So let's not mess around. Let's just get straight into it. Thanks for coming on, Dan. We appreciate it.
No worries. Anytime, Josh. Anytime, mate. I'll sort Rylan out next week for you as well. Rylan will be on next week.
Oh, that's fantastic. That'll be good for the viewers to hear. Fantastic. So we'll just get straight into it. So obviously you had sort of quite a decorated amateur career, boxed at, England level, did really well. And, you turned pro. I think it's fair to say you sort of had a bit of a journeyman career yourself. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I had a couple of years out after I was amateur. Should have went pro then. Hindsight's a great thing. I was a decent amateur, yeah, and I should have went pro then when I had time, sold a ticket. Didn't have money problems, i.e. your mortgage and all that sort of thing. But by the time I turned pro with the intention of being a journeyman. I'd spoke to a lot. I knew I had the skills, technique, and the fitness and the training dedication to be quite good on the road. So I knew exactly what I was doing as soon as I turned over.
Oh, no, brilliant. I mean, it's interesting you say that, actually, like you turned over with the intention of that. I mean, yeah, no, it's really interesting. Sorry, blew me away a bit.
I think it's good for the honesty, isn't it?
Yeah, people don't realise, guys, how hard it is. If, say, you were like an average sort of amateur or even quite good, but you didn't win the ABAs, you didn't box numerous times on the England squad, you didn't go to the Olympics, you turn over, you've got to sell 100 tickets, you've probably got either a family or bills to pay, so you've got to work as well. So you're thinking your day is, you're getting up, realistically, if you've got an 8-10 rounder, you've got to get a run done in the morning, do your day's graft, get back, quickly have some food, go to the gym, then you've got to rush about selling the tickets. If you don't sell the tickets, you ain't fighting, or it's costing you money. And people from the outside don't realise that. And I just didn't have the time to get them tickets sold and have that pressure on me. So I just thought, I absolutely love boxing. I know I'm good enough to go in with these kids. I've sparred lots of good pros. Yeah, and I can make some decent money out of it. Let's give it a crack for a few years.
I know. Well, you did as well, didn't you? Because like looking at your record, some quite impressive names on there. Obviously, Josh Warrington is in a big fight this weekend, and Jordan Gill. What was it like boxing those guys?
I got them quite early in their careers. Both great lads. Speak to him now. Obviously, best of luck to Josh at the weekend, and I'm hoping Jordan gets his European title shot soon. But them two did stand out when I boxed them. I mean, to be fair, I boxed Jordan. I was feeling so rough that day. To be fair, I shouldn't have probably took the fight, but he was sharp as a razor. One little mistake. Yeah, I mean, he even put me down just purely through sharpness, not power. And Josh, I'd heard good things about Josh, and I've never been in with someone with such a work rate. And anyone who says he don't punch, I did a 6-rounder with him. Go do a 6-rounder with him. I got back after the first round. I said, look, he hits relatively hard, but there's no way he's going to be able to keep that work rate up. He must have threw about 120 punches, and then he did it for the next 5 rounds, obviously, and proved he can do it for 12 as well. So, yeah, both real good kids and real nice kids out of the ring, which is nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of people have said that, haven't they, about Josh Warrington after they've fought him. I know Carl Frampton's he regularly says it, doesn't he? That anyone who says Josh Warrington can't punch, get in there with him. So
it's not knock you out power or shake you up. It's just you're not going to keep walking onto them. Whereas someone who don't hit, you'll just walk forward all night with your hands up. But nah, Josh can punch, trust me.
It's the amount you get as well, isn't it? It's just not the one power punch. It's the amount of punches he gets on you. They're going to hurt over time.
Yeah, Benn, he keeps them coming, trust me.
So moving on slightly. So what made you retire? I mean, obviously, you still of an age now where you could probably go and clearly in the shade. So, what made you call it a day?
Bit heavy now, mate. I'll be going in at about middleweight. But yeah, to be honest with you, I moved away from London. I had a great trainer in London, Frank Greaves, who trained David Adelaide at the moment, actually. And he trained Gary Cochran and quite a lot of other pros. I moved away from that area. I was doing a lot of training on my own. And I wanted to start winning. I boxed for the Southern area twice, and I wanted to come and start winning. and then the phone don't go as much. And boxing in 10 rounders, my whole life was getting wrapped around boxing again. Whereas when I was doing the 4 rounders, I was quite comfortable. I was training hard every single day, dieting, because I'm a 5'10" featherweight, and super feather. So I was big for the weight, but I could do 4 rounders every weekend. And I almost wish I'd have stayed doing it, because I reckon I'd have cleared at least 50, possibly 100 fights. But yeah, picked up a couple of wins, got a couple of Southern area title shots, and then I wanted to crack on and get winning. But yeah, just got a bit too much with work, not a proper trainer. And I fell out of love with it a little bit. So yeah, called it a day.
You saying that you could have got to 50 fights. Am I right in thinking that your first year as a pro was 13 fights?
13 fights, yeah.
13 fights in your first year.
Yeah, loved it. And I could have had that year 16, but I couldn't get the days off work. I was flying. I was loving it. My fitness, I was getting out of some 4 rounders. I boxed in Scotland one week, and I was sweating, and that was it. Got a quick shower. I could have went for a 10K. Loving it, yeah.
Yeah, fair play. So, I mean, then obviously the main sort of reason for getting you on, obviously you went into the world of boxing management. Was that something you had your eye on, or, what triggered that in your head to think, like, this is the route I'll hit?
I had a really good manager the whole time I was there, Carl Greaves. But I knew I like speaking to boxers. I love boxing, I always have done. And some people weren't getting, obviously I'm not going to name no names, but I just felt they weren't getting treated the way they should. And I thought, I still love boxing. I want to stay involved with it. I've been treated really well. I think I can have a good crack at this, doing it myself. And it was more, and it still is now to this day, a love for the sport more than, oh, this is going to be my job, I'm going to have 50 fighters. It was keep myself in the game and just look after fighters, because I've seen fighters sign contracts. It could have said you've got to give the manager 90%. They don't. Some of them, a vast majority of them, they won't even read it because they're very trusting. And yeah, so yeah, people do get ripped off. People don't get looked after properly. And I know something I do is always look after a fighter. Keeps me in the game, in a sport I absolutely love. So yeah, it's a no-brainer for me, really.
So who was your first fighter that you sort of took under your wing?
I had a great kid from my local area, actually, called Charlie Garrard, a light heavy. It's a shame. He used to spar John Ryder a lot. Really, it was 2-0, but yeah, just couldn't keep his head in the game, unfortunately. Yeah, I've done loads for the kid, and I'd have loved him to have kept going because he's a really good little fighter. But it's just one of them that he had lots of work on, a young child at the time. And as I said earlier in the interview, it is a hard sport for anyone.
So, no, we get that. So, as obviously you're starting out, I mean, obviously now we've started speaking, obviously, with regards to Ryland Charlton, who's obviously going to be very well known to a lot of people who tune into this. So when you start speaking to promoters to get fights and stuff like that, are you ever in situations where you're sort of dictated to, like, this is what the fight is, this is who, sort of take it or leave it? Like, how flexible is that sort of process, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get to.
So when they're starting, say they start and they haven't got the big backing that we talked about earlier, they didn't win the ABAs, they weren't elite amateur, I think it's best, obviously I'm going to sell myself here, but I think it's best to go with a manager and not a promoter. Then you can go on different shows as long as you sell the tickets, like Charlton did. He lives in Norwich. He's always fought in London and Watford, but he sold enough tickets so I can get him. People are looking to get fighters on their show, so you can go on any show throughout the year as long as you can sell the tickets. Then you build yourself a bit of a profile. And he did. He knocked out a lad, Duck Boy. He's never been dropped, never been put down. He knocked the guy out cold. So you start giving then you can go to a promoter and go, look, this is my product. I manage this guy. And you've got a lot more ammunition other than, oh, I really rate him. How many promoters have heard that? What did he win as an amateur? Well, he didn't win nothing. He had 55 fights. I think he's going to be amazing. You can see him looking away, thinking, I've heard this 1,000,001 times. But when you go to him with knockout reels, in sparring, in fights, and they're 5-6-0, then you've got ammo to work with.
Yeah, it's about building the product, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, building the product, and then you can come to the big promote. That didn't really answer your original question though. Now he's with Matchroom. There is discussions about opponents, and I get that they're looking from their point of view as well. I like with Matchroom, they're always looking at building a story. It's not just fight by fight. They're looking long term, which I think is a good thing. But sometimes the fights you want don't always agree with what they want. But I've turned down several fights for Rylan and had great chats with the guys at Matchroom, and yeah, I've been more than happy. I mean, did we really want the Marku fight? In all honesty, no. He's never a welterweight, Charlton. Never has been, never will be. He came into that fight the day of the weigh-in at 10 stone 3. I said, look, you're going to have to go away and bulk up, so you're at least 10.5, 10.4 on the scales. And then by the time fight night, I think he was 10.5, 10.6. Marku would have been 11.7 easily. He's a unit. So we was always up against it there, but we had to take that fight. And Charlton, I could say you're fighting a middleweight. He is nuts, mate. He loves a fight, and he trusts me. So that was just part of the deal, unfortunately. And we took the risk. And I think, although the loss, it was a loss and he got stopped, I still think it paid off. I think I didn't see one bad comment about Charlton. Even the Albanians took to him. So, yeah, I think in defeat, we also gained, because everyone knows he's a fan-friendly fighter. He's going to put on a fight. He's got a hell of a chin, balls the size of watermelons. And, I think we still come out on top for that. And obviously, best of luck to Florian. He done really well that night and showed some great skills.
I think that's the thing. In that fight, Charlton, his profile was built a lot more as well, because he showed a lot of heart, determination, and he wasn't there for the payday. You could tell he came in. He held his own. Some of those shots, Marku wouldn't admit it, but some of those shots when he hit flush, they've got to have hurt. Yeah,
you got to bear in mind Charlton's style. He's strong, come forward a puncher. He's 2 weight divisions above what he should be. Who does that? Who does that against Florian Marku, who, let's be honest, he's a known puncher, known to be massive at the weight and known to be strong as a bull. So, let's jump up 2 weights and let's fight him. That's the kind of guy Charlton is, and that's the kind of risks we're willing to take, because he was buzzed for the fight. We genuinely thought we were going to win as well, even with the disadvantages. But now he's down at lightweight. These kids might be good on their feet, but wait till Charlton clumps someone. They'll be thinking twice, trust me.
Yeah, no, I have to say I agree with Ben and yourself, really, Dan. It was a good performance, to be fair, and we were both sat watching that and both thought, bloody hell, he can fight. So, no, definitely worked for the best. So, I mean, as a manager, obviously, you touched on, fighters can sort of struggle to juggle everything around their sort of potential day jobs. Do you help out your fighters with like going and getting sponsorship, and are you that hands-on, or do you sort of leave that? Is that sort of something they carry on with?
Look, I had a handful of fighters. I wasn't really working too closely with them due to the distance they were. They weren't. Some of them weren't ready and could. I've basically cut back on just with Rylan. I help a girl out in Newcastle called Kerry Haley, but again, that's miles away. But it's just really me and Charlton, because any fighter I work with, I want to be hands-on. And I've got Charlton 3 or 4 sponsors which have helped pay for him. So this time he's having a full camp, so he hasn't worked for 2 months. I mean, his paydays aren't enough to mean he can have that time off work. But with the sponsorships, I'm not going to list them all. They know who they are and they're great guys, but that goes a long, long way for fighters. And I think a good manager will really put his neck out and help you there. And it's not easy. You get a lot of knockbacks, but again, I'm giving them a product that I know is going to represent their brand, their company to a great level, because I believe in what I'm selling. So any fighter I take on, yes, I'd help them as long as they were given the attitude that Rylan Charlton does, and they were up for it as much as us. But yeah, that's something I think a good manager should get involved in. It's definitely something I've done and do to this day with Rylan.
It's interesting you say that. I think, obviously not that we're boxers, we're just big fans of the sport. But I think, that's got to be invaluable to a fighter, hasn't it? That if you've got a manager that really is going to go sort of above and beyond to that level, to obviously ensure that you can have a proper camp and give yourself the best chance of going in and winning a fight. So obviously you're quite close with Rylan. So how did you guys meet and obviously go on to become his manager?
Yeah, so I think a big thing with the management is the best managers care. There's a lot of managers who'll do their job and they'll do it well, but when you've got someone who cares for you as well, then there's a big difference there, because they will go the extra mile. They will pick up the phone, try and get the extra sponsorships, because they care about that person and how much it means to them. But yeah, how we met, his trainer, Frank Sicton, is good friend of mine, also a great amateur. I think he ended up having 70 fights, but again, couldn't do the ticket. Such a shame, never went pro, would have been a good pro. But he wanted to turn him over, and he wanted to go the route that I sort of explained, boxing in London, didn't want to stay on the local scene. He wanted to get Rylan out there because of how much he rated him. And he knew I'd just recently got a license, and he said, Dan, I've got a kid here. You're going to like him as a person, and trust me, his style, he's genetically a freak. I mean, wait till you see him on the scales at lightweight. And his style is just so fan friendly. You're going to love him. It's going to be hard work, but we can take him quite far. And I was in Norwich, is an hour drive for me, but I was down there within the hour. Let's go. Met them both, and yeah, spot on.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say something then, Ben.
No.
So obviously you said you're hands on with Rylan, and you do stuff. Obviously, when we were speaking last night, you said you do your sprints with him. So are you present at sort of every one of Rylan's training sessions?
No. I mean, I've got a job as well, and his trainer is spot on. I trust what he's doing, but I'll get to as many training sessions, spars. He's got a great strength and conditioning coach at the moment from Norwich called Rui. I like going to them sessions. I'll dive in with a sprints. I mean, I can't keep up with him, but I'll give him a go for a couple. Yeah, again, that's part, I think, of the care and the love, and I want to see how he's progressing. It's good to hear it on the phone from the trainer daily, who again I believe is good for the manager to have a good relationship with all the trainers of his fighters. But yeah, something I like to see, and I've travelled miles and miles and miles with Rylan for elite sparring and all sorts, yeah, and loved it all.
See, I do think that sometimes some boxing fans can forget that it's not just the boxer in the ring. There's a whole team that go into it. I think good boxers do need good teams behind them. So it is really refreshing to hear you saying all this.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you look back on the past fighters, and there's some amazing. Did they have strength and conditioning coaches? Maybe not, but times are changing, and I do think it is great to have a good team around you, and especially if that team can all link together, then and they all care, then you've got a winning formula. And I believe we've really got that at the moment, and that's something that's really going to benefit Rylan.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the work's paid off, hasn't it? You know, he's on probably the biggest platform, or possibly the biggest platform that the UK sort of has to offer now. I mean, how did that multi-fight deal with Matchroom? How did that sort of come about? Was that organic, or was that something you sort of pounded the phones and banged the doors until it sort of became an option?
COVID hit, and the matchmaking.
Oh, I think we've. Are you there, Dan?
Sorry, guys. I think it cut out a bit there. Are you back?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. So what I was saying is COVID hit and the matchmaking changed massively, which benefited us because I thought the shows got really good, proper 50-50 fights. They're only allowed 5-6 shows on. And when I say I pestered people to get Charlton on, and I ain't even going to lie about it, I was lying. I was saying he's doing it for the money. He's not fit. It'll be exciting for a couple of rounds. Because I wanted him in there, and I'd do anything to get him on. And then when that Joe Laws fight came, my face lit. I couldn't wait to get off the phone and just go, look. But we had 13 days notice. Luckily, we'd been on the training. Frank had got him super fit and he was ready to go. We got him a couple of good spars, then finished off with 8 with Benn, which went really well. And then obviously the rest is history. That wasn't a deal. He was the away fighter, but you saw what he did to Joe. Again, Joe's a great lad. He's going to come back and hopefully be a champion. And then we talked and got the deal sorted after that fight. Because I think he was trending on Twitter that night. They were loving the nickname, the pint-sized powerhouse. Obviously, he done the call out to Eddie, get your pen out, and I think it was a no-brainer. He's an exciting fighter, win, lose or draw, and I think anyone who signed him was lucky to have him at that point. He showed what he's all about.
Yeah, no, the Joe Law, it was a special night, that was, wasn't it? To be fair, I suppose it's good to hear that you know it sort of massively changed his career trajectory, hasn't it? Sort of with something good coming out of the pandemic. So, I mean, what do you envisage for yourself personally going, you know, future wise in terms of boxing?
With Ryland or in general?
Well, for yourself, really, just as a manager, like, you know.
For myself, I think I've made it clear what sort of manager I am. And there's plenty of great managers out there, but if I only want a couple, like 2 to 3 maximum, more fighters, and it has to be a tight-knit team. We have to be all singing from the same. I don't go out begging for fighters. I'm not looking for fighters. I'm happy to give fighters advice who I'm not with, who've got separate managers. Like I say, I've got a day job. I'm not doing this to make money and bend things to make money in my pocket. So 2 to 3 more fighters for me who think they can go far. They've got the right attitude. You can tell when you speak to. So there's some boxers out there, I'm not going to lie, Josh and Ben, they just want to say they're pro boxers, and that's not what I'm looking for. I want someone who wants me there to be hands on, and we can push forward and push for big things like we have done with Ryland. And I really think Ryland's going to go on after this, and this will be another breakout fight for him in the 135 division.
No, definitely. It's a massive card, Ryland's on, isn't it, coming up? I don't want to talk too much about it, because hopefully we can have that chat with Ryland himself next week. So, I mean, just to finish up, we normally do a little bit of a question to sort of any guests that we have on. So, what are your top 3 boxers of 2021 so far?
So far, what fights have I liked so far? That's a tough one, you know. I really, really think David Eviessian deserves a massive, massive fight. Massively underlooked. Great fighter. 32 now. No, I think he's on 33 now. Really deserves a big. What he did to Kelly, a lot of people did not see that coming. And I really hope he gets his chance. Obviously, he's fighting for the European, but I really hope he gets a big crack now, because he really deserves it, that guy.
Well, I do think in that Kelly fight, that Kelly fight, I don't think Kelly hardly touched him. It was just such a professional performance. It was unbelievable, actually. It surprised me.
Carl Greaves had a great game plan. David stuck to it. I mean, they comfortably lost the first 2 rounds, and I think some people thought, we've got a Kelly masterclass coming up here. They knew what was happening. I think they thought they'd break him down a bit later, but no, brilliant performance. And again, he's great to watch. He comes forward throwing loads of shots, and I think it's important. We have exciting fights, and he's one of them.
No, definitely. Have you got a second and third?
I don't know specifically. I mean, the most improved fighter for me in the UK, maybe even in the world, is Conor Benn. Again, I don't know where he's at level-wise, but just being with Tony Sims and in that gym, sparring a lot with Ryland, with the lads there, really come on a lot. Really impressed with how he's dealt with people and coming along. So that's more, I'd say, the most improved fighter, definitely. Yeah, really, really come on a lot. Tony's done some great work there. But all the lads down at Tony Sims's gym, class act. I mean, look at what Joe Cordina did the other week. Brilliant.
Yeah, it was incredible, wasn't it, to be fair?
Yeah.
No, agreed on Conor Benn, actually. That's probably the fight I'm most excited about for tomorrow. So, what have you got any predictions going into tomorrow? How do you think it'll go with like Conor Benn, Katie Taylor and Josh Warrington?
Conor Benn, I think he's in for a hard one. I think if he gets on him early, might be all right, but I think Granados looks up for it for me. It depends. Obviously, that they've got them all a bit further down the line. Let's not mess about. They are looking after him, but I think a late stoppage to points. It depends what Granados has got left, but he's obviously stayed over here when he could have went home, so he must be fairly game. I think that could go points. Katie Taylor, I think, is in for quite a comfortable night. I think points win. Her opponent's not bad, but I think points win. Josh is in a hard one. I mean, coming straight back into that fight, I personally wouldn't have done it, but fair play to him. I mean, that Lara can dig, and he's game as anything. So as long as Josh can avoid him early, I mean, he'll have the crowd on his side, but will that also be a disadvantage? Because he's going to want to engage. Once them Leeds, I'm a massive Leeds football fan, and I've gone to games and me and Josh sit near each other, but once that crowd get going, Josh ain't going to be able to hold back, and walking onto Lara's shots, he's a big hitter. But I'm still going for Josh on that. I think he's going to do him down the stretch on points.
Yeah, no, we sort of said similar in our preview video of it the other day, that the fans could sort of be a bit of an enemy to him, because obviously he'll want to engage, and he could walk onto something he shouldn't. So I think we'll wrap it up there, Dan. Thanks ever so much for coming on. We do really appreciate it. Obviously, I hope you've enjoyed it.
No worries.
Thank you for your time.
Ramble all day when it comes to boxing. No, that's the problem. I'd have had you here till midnight. That's the problem with me. But...
That's why we started this channel.
So, right, guys. Well, we'll see you on the next one. And as you heard it from his manager, Dan Naylor, we'll be having Ryland Charlton on next week. So that's definitely one to look out for. And we'll see you all on the next one.
Next week,
Cheers.
Ryland Charlton. Cheers, John.